All right, welcome to the demo day for April 30th here. Yeah, do you want to kick off, Skulk, with some death contract updates?
Yeah, hi everyone. Okay, so we sent out the death contract a while ago to our auditor. He has come back saying that he didn't pick up anything troubling in the contract. There were one or two items that when we actually push the final contract, we'll just explain how we're addressing those items or why we're not addressing those items. One of the biggest things he asked for was just test scaffolding, specifically this version of the death contract, because the way that it works is it's a maker contract with DeFi savers, automation on top of it, and then we tokenize the DeFi saver. So the one scenario in which everybody loses a lot of money is if the CDP gets bitten, which just means that it no longer has enough collateral to be considered as liquid by MakerDAO. And then the collateral gets auctioned off to pay off the debt, and then there's some amount of ether left. So the recapitalization is something we brought in so that if that ever happens, anybody can just poke the contract and it will recapitalize itself, and everybody can at least pull out what was left. And at the same time, it all sort of like reboots the contract, and so it can start running again. Yeah, so he just asked for basically for a method of viewing that. So yeah, so currently our F-sharp contractor is just implementing all the steps, because there's a lot of steps in terms of what happens with Maker, specifically when it gets bitten. It basically it goes in. Okay, so first thing is we have to simulate the price fall. Then we have to actually bite the CDP, which is marked as unsafe. And then essentially we have to run through a process called denting, which is the auction system. And then as it gets dented, basically the owner of the CDP gets credited the excess money beyond the debt that gets paid off. And then essentially the last step is to grab that and pull it back into the CDP. So lots of that has a lot to do with actually simulating large parts of the Maker ecosystem. Yeah, but we're making a lot of good progress on that. And yeah, currently my take is that by next week, Friday, we will have a cleared audit. We will have that simulation, and hopefully we have sufficient tests by then as well to actually sign off of it and make it live. So yeah, so I think we could reach that point by Friday. I think I'll just make a point of discussing it a couple of times next week as we hit those milestones. Yeah, and then we can decide to push the button on that.
So that's potentially then, if everything goes well, then that'll be Friday of next week. It would be live, the full version, audited version live.
Yeah, well, I still think basically we could do that throughout next week. But just the points I just made will be done by then. So I think we'll have a clean audit. I think we'll have a way to simulate that. And I think we will have, at least enough basic tests to say, okay, cool, well, we think this thing's going to work. I think we have to then at least do some sort of a review of it again and just really think through it, because if what really does concern me is if like $100 million goes into the thing and something goes wrong, and there are, I mean, I don't want to get into it now, but there are maybe one or two cases that I just think we need to discuss in terms of like, okay, well, what do we do if these kinds of things go wrong? One aspect of this death contract as well is that it has an owner, which will likely assign to the Foundry treasury, and that owner can either be burnt. In other words, we can get rid of the owner key, or we can leave it in the DAO and just assume that the DAO will manage it correctly, which at the moment is just the Team Toast multi-sig. But that owner key does give us an awful lot of options to sort of get out of trouble if something does go wrong. But ideally, I'd like us to be in a situation where we can just burn that key and not worry about the thing and just have it run on autopilot. So those are just discussions that even if we do get a clean bill of health on the audit, I'd just like us to have.
Okay, cool. All right, well, for Smoke Signal, there hasn't been a ton of technical improvements this week. The development has just been going a bit slow, and we've also been focusing a lot on sort of the longer term scaling concerns. so there's not too much to demo on Smoke Signal. We did do some user testing, some UX testing with the first tester, and already that uncovered some stuff that what's good to know about. I mean, for one thing, the onboarding, watching the guy try to make a post was kind of like watching a blind man walk down a balance beam, and he kept falling off. So I think the response, or the what we should do to address that, is to make the onboarding a little bit more contained. So the user has, we had for a brief moment steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 of install MetaMask, connect to MetaMask, switch to XDAI, and get XDAI. The problem there being that if that messed up, or if that process didn't, like if you were ready to post, but that onboarding process didn't think you were, then you'd be unable to post. So we removed that, but there's got to be a middle ground there, because right now the onboarding is not quite firm enough, if I can put it that way. Anyway, so that user testing, we're going to do more of that next week. And then the other thing for Smoke Signal is that we've gotten the Facebook Pixel integration working. It doesn't send back any information about your addresses or anything, but if you're on Facebook and you see an ad for Smoke Signal and you go there, Smoke Signal then sends back when certain actions happen. So did they connect their wallet? Did they make a post? And that's going to help a lot for Facebook's advertising machine learning to get a lot more people going to Smoke Signal. If I understand correctly, Chris, and then I'll hand it off to you, that machine learning, the purpose of that is to basically show the ad to people who are ready to convert, or in other words, ready to make some action. And that's what that machine learning will be able to that's what it'll be better capable of now that we've done the Facebook Pixel integration. Is that right?
So hi everybody. From my side, I'll start with that point. Facebook basically knows exactly in its audience base who are people that will convert and who are people that just sort of, take notes and don't really do anything. I mean, they can figure this out by showing ads to people and then categorizing them into groups of people that actually, when they see the ad, take action. So there are different categories of ads you can run, like we explained last week, but the one that encourages people to take action is under the conversion tab. Now, what we've done is we're sending all the custom events to Facebook, but the one we're starting off with is the view content event, which basically encourages people to go to the page, but it shows the ads to people that are more prone to take action on the website. So you'll get people that look at it, take note and then close it, go back to Facebook, but then you also get an audience that will go there and potentially use the platform. So since the Pixel went live, we've now started running those ads. Obviously, I had to go through an approval process again, but that's been sort of oiled now nicely. So we know how to get the ads approved and start running on Facebook. So that's the first thing that's quite positive. With that in mind, while we're chatting about Facebook, I'm sure the community will know about the massive changes in iOS 14 that's been happening. Also at Facebook, the amount of stress they've been taking because of this. And also seems like Google's going to follow in the same footsteps very soon, which will, cause a marketing change. Now, if big agencies like Facebook and Google make these changes, we can only assume that smaller platforms like Reddit will definitely also follow in those footsteps. And basically, one of the things they do, they block you from tracking on iOS devices. You can't track if somebody clicks from Facebook to your website. You can't really track those actions anymore. The ones you can track can only be tracked for 7 days. So that's quite a big problem. It used to be able to track those for a year, which you can use to better advertising. But one of the new methods that's being tested now is video audiences, because you can actually post a video on Facebook, see how long they interact with that video on Facebook, and then use that to advertise and build audiences. So instead of necessarily, getting the guy to your site, you try and make them watch a video and then see how long they watch it for, and then from that decide on what to do. So one of the things we're also investigating is to create some awesome videos for Foundry and Smoke Signal for users to engage with across platforms. The next thing is our Reddit ads are up and running again, so we were able to get those approved and running. So we're driving quite a lot of visitors every day, a few hundred to the platform. But what we have seen is even with the returning amount of visitors, people don't seem to use the platform as we want them to. And after starting to do the community testing, we can see that there's quite a bit of struggle. The other problem is also most of our users are mobile, and we currently don't really support a very easy to use mobile system, wallet connect system. So one of the tickets that we have prioritized, which should go live in the next day or so, is the wallet connect system on mobile, which will basically allow you to seamlessly connect your wallet on your phone and actually use Smoke Signal on your phone, which currently isn't really possible. So that will also hopefully create some great usability, new experiences for customers or users. Yeah, so we spoke about the user testing. The next thing I want to just chat about is we have been doing the onboarding with Brave. We've started the initial sales process. We're starting the onboarding this afternoon. And then hopefully within the week, we can start getting some action on there to see whether we can advertise Smoke Signal on Brave browser, since that's already a very privacy orientated audience. So hopefully we'll make some progress with that also this week. Then we created the medium.com account. We posted some feedback there last week, and the plan is also to start posting all the updates for the demo day on there, probably also the link to the video. And then I've also been looking at quite a lot of crypto accounts, and all of them are utilizing Twitter for these sort of quick price action updates. You know, mobile apps can go live stream those companies which then drive the price. So we also created a Twitter account for Smoke Signal to start posting some interesting facts and stuff on there. Then for the week ahead, we're going to start working on the Smoke Signal brand identity. So currently everything is sort of all over the place, and we're going to create a set identity. What is Smoke Signal? And one of the directions that we decided to sort of fill that position in people's minds is Smoke Signal is the world's first decentralized forum. And I mean, there are similar platforms, but Smoke Signal is the only one that works the way it does. And we want to use that angle to sort of, make people remember Smoke Signal, not just see it and then sort of, go on with their lives. So we're going to be working on that angle from the brand identity perspective. Then using the user feedback testing, we're going to be implementing some Adobe XD mock-up screens with changes to make the platform easier to use and to also see how users interact with our onboarding. So before we then actually go and implement that in Elm, we'll test that in XD, where we can easily make changes if required. And then another item we have on the list is to also start posting on the social platforms more regularly. So I mentioned about Twitter, but we also want to utilize our Facebook page because it is getting likes all the time as we run the ads. We want to sort of organically also utilize that. So I would say from a marketing UX perspective, that's more or less the update.
Cool. All right. Well, anything else from you, Smoke? I don't have anything else to go over.
Nope.
Okay.
If you want to discuss any of the scaling possible solutions or not?
No, not really. I mean, the one we're implementing now, I guess we can talk about that because it's people maybe will notice the impact it's having now. So if you go to Smoke Signal at the moment, there's about, I would say, 5 to 10 seconds where it's loading all the posts, and the JavaScript is so overwhelmed that you actually can't even click on one of the posts to go through there. So that's the one we're addressing immediately. We are exploring a couple directions there. One is that the app could cache things locally so that when you go to the site the first time, it'll do that loading, but when you go again, it doesn't have to reload everything. So that could be a pretty simple fix. We've already verified that at least addresses the problem in sort of a proof of concept way. But yeah, and then there's some other things we've been talking about, like maybe only looking at the past week of content and then content that those things reference via replies. So we have some good ideas, but we're still not quite sure which one we're going to go for primarily yet. Yep.
Cool.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, YouTube.